Have you ever felt like life is throwing endless challenges your way, as if the universe itself is conspiring against you? Imagine, for a moment, that everything you feared, every obstacle, every delay, every door that slammed shut, wasn't a setback at all. What if I told you that each of these failures is actually working in your favor, guiding you towards something greater than you could ever have imagined? What if the most difficult moments of your life were not meant to break you, but to awaken you? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you see your life forever. If you feel inspired by this journey of self-discovery and want to explore more powerful insights from Buddhism, make sure to subscribe to Buddhism in every moment. By joining us, you'll support the channel and help us create more meaningful videos to guide you on your path. Don't miss out on the wisdom that could transform your life. Embrace the flow of life, trusting the current. We all know the feeling, the weight of expectations, the constant pressure to control every detail, and the endless cycle of worrying about what could go wrong. How many times have you caught yourself replaying past mistakes or stressing over what tomorrow might bring? It feels like life is a series of hurdles, each one more difficult than the last, and you're constantly trying to jump over them. But what if I told you that this struggle, this resistance, is the very thing that's keeping you from finding peace? Life, in its purest form, is not meant to be controlled. It's like a river that flows effortlessly, winding through valleys and mountains, meandering with grace. The more we try to control the current, the more we exhaust ourselves. We grasp at the water, thinking we can hold it, but the tighter we clutch, the faster it slips through our fingers. What we fail to realize is that we are not meant to control the flow, we are meant to flow with it. Think about it. When we force things to go our way, when we resist what's unfolding, we're essentially fighting against nature. It's as though we're standing in the middle of a rushing river, trying to stop the current with our bare hands and wondering why we're getting swept away. We struggle, we resist, and we wonder why life feels so hard. But when we let go, when we release our need to control, something incredible happens. We stop fighting the river, and suddenly we start floating. There's an undeniable freedom in surrender. It doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means trusting that the universe, like the river, knows the way better than we do. Life is constantly in motion, constantly evolving, and it moves according to its own rhythm. When we learn to trust that rhythm, we find peace in the flow. Imagine standing in the middle of that river, no longer struggling to fight the current. At first, you might feel vulnerable. You might feel the urge to hold on to something, to brace yourself for what's coming. But then you realize that the more you let go, the more you become one with the river. The water carries you gently, and you begin to see things you never noticed before. The beauty of the trees along the bank, the song of the birds in the air, the calm that lies just beneath the surface. These are the moments we miss when we're too busy fighting life. The act of surrender isn't about giving up on your dreams or abandoning your responsibilities. It's about trusting that every step you take, every action you make, is part of the greater flow. It's about putting in your best effort, knowing that the outcome is not in your hands, and allowing life to reveal itself in its own time. When you stop trying to force things into place, you open yourself up to a deeper understanding of the path you're walking. Every delay, every closed door becomes a redirection, guiding you towards something more aligned with your purpose. The beauty of this trust is that it transforms the way we see the world. When we stop resisting, we stop seeing obstacles as enemies. We stop viewing challenges as setbacks, and instead, we start seeing them as guides, teachers that are here to show us something we couldn't have learned any other way. We stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "Where is this trying to take me?" It's a shift in perspective, one that brings clarity, calm, and ultimately peace. As you begin to trust the flow of life, you might notice that your fears start to dissipate. The unknown no longer feels terrifying because you realize that the river is always leading you where you need to go. Even when the path is unclear, even when the road ahead is obscured, you trust that each step is part of the unfolding process. You trust that life has a way of working things out, even when it doesn't look the way you expected. This trust, this surrender, is what transforms fear into faith, anxiety into calm, and resistance into acceptance. It's in this state of surrender that you find true peace, not the peace that comes from things going exactly as planned, but the peace that comes from knowing that, in the grand scheme of things, everything is unfolding exactly as it should. So the next time you find yourself struggling against the current, take a moment to pause, take a breath. Let go. Trust that the river will carry you. Trust that the flow of life is not your enemy, it is your guide. And in that trust, you'll find the freedom to float effortlessly, to embrace each moment with grace, and to experience the beauty that surrounds you. Because in the end, life isn't something to be controlled. It's something to be lived, embraced, and trusted. And when you finally surrender to the flow, you'll discover that everything, as it always has been, is working in your favor. The power of reframing challenges. Every obstacle is a teacher. Life is full of challenges. We all know that sinking feeling when things don't go as planned, when doors close, when we hit a dead end. It's easy to feel defeated, as though life is somehow conspiring against us. How many times have you asked, "Why me?" when things don't seem to go your way? But what if I told you that every struggle, every failure, and every painful experience is not here to destroy you, but to teach you? What if the hardest moments in your life are, in fact, your greatest opportunities for growth? It's hard to see that in the midst of difficulty. When you're in the middle of a storm, it can feel like the sky will never clear, like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and it's easy to forget that storms don't last forever. What we often forget in those moments is that every challenge, no matter how painful, carries a lesson, and it's up to us to uncover it. Buddhism teaches us to reframe our challenges. Instead of seeing them as enemies, we are encouraged to view them as teachers. A teacher doesn't just give you answers, they help you find your own. They push you, challenge you, and sometimes even make you uncomfortable, because growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. When you start to see your difficulties as teachers, you shift your mindset from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. No longer do you ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, you begin to ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Imagine a seed buried deep in the soil. For that seed to grow into a mighty tree, it has to push through the darkness. It must fight against the weight of the earth that covers it, struggle against resistance, and reach towards the light. Without that struggle, the seed would never break open and the tree would never grow. This is how challenges work in our lives. They force us to grow, to dig deep, and to find strength we didn't know we had. Think about your own life. The hardest moments, losing a job, experiencing a heartbreak, facing illness, those moments were not the end of your story. They were the beginning of a new chapter. Yes, they were painful, but they also forced you to dig deep into your own resilience, your own capacity for change. When you look back, you might even realize that those moments led you to discover new talents, new strengths, or a new purpose that you would have never found otherwise. You didn't know it at the time, but those challenges were preparing you for something greater. Reframing challenges as teachers doesn't mean that we deny pain or try to bypass the hard emotions. It means we embrace them as part of the human experience. In Buddhism, pain is not something to be avoided or resisted. It's something to be embraced, understood, and learned from. The Buddha himself taught that suffering is a natural part of life, but it's not the suffering itself that defines us. It's how we respond to it. When you begin to see every challenge as a teacher, your perspective shifts. You stop viewing life as a series of random events that happen to you, and instead start to see a greater purpose unfolding. You begin to trust that even the most difficult situations are leading you somewhere, even if you don't understand it in the moment. Instead of fighting against the pain, you allow it to shape you, to transform you into a stronger, wiser person. Take a moment and reflect on your own life. Think of the times when things didn't go as planned. What lessons did you learn? What strengths did you discover about yourself that you didn't know existed? It's easy to get lost in the pain, to see the setbacks as signs of failure. But when you shift your perspective, you see the setbacks as stepping stones, guiding you to your next destination. This shift in mindset is liberating. It frees you from the grip of despair, from the belief that things are happening to you, not for you. It gives you the power to take control of your own story. Instead of letting life's challenges define you in a negative way, you begin to see them as the forces that are shaping you into the person you are meant to become. The storms you once feared become classrooms, and the difficulties you once cursed become opportunities for growth. And the more you adopt this mindset, the more you begin to realize that everything, every joy, every pain, every success, every failure is already working in your favor. Life isn't trying to break you, it's trying to shape you. Every challenge is a lesson in disguise, and when you choose to learn from it, you unlock the greatest power of all, the power to grow, to change, and to become the best version of yourself. So the next time life presents you with a challenge, instead of fighting it, pause and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? In that moment of reflection, you'll begin to see the hidden gift in the struggle. And with that gift comes the peace that every obstacle is not an enemy but a guide, leading you exactly where you need to go. Let go of control, finding freedom in surrender. There's a quiet battle we all face, one that isn't fought on the outside, but deep within us. It's the battle between control and surrender. It's the feeling that if we don't hold onto the reins of our lives tightly enough, everything will fall apart. We become obsessed with controlling every outcome, managing every relationship, and anticipating every possibility. We think that by doing so, we can secure our happiness, our success, and our peace of mind. But what if I told you that in holding on so tightly, we're actually losing what we desire most: freedom? We live in a world where the pressure to control everything is overwhelming. We've been taught that planning, striving, and managing every moment of our lives is the key to success. But what happens when we can't control the situation, the people around us, or even the things we thought we had under control? That's when the anxiety starts to creep in. The more we cling to control, the more we feel the weight of the world on our shoulders. And yet, control remains an illusion, one that only keeps us trapped in a cycle of worry and fear. When you step back and look at life from a wider perspective, you begin to see that the idea of control is nothing more than a mirage. Life doesn't follow a script, and it certainly doesn't bend to our will just because we demand it. The truth is, no matter how hard we try, we can never control everything. We can't control the weather, the choices of others, or the timing of events. Life unfolds as it will, and no matter how much we resist it, it will continue moving forward. The more we try to control it, the more we end up fighting against its natural flow. So, what happens when we let go of control? What does it mean to truly surrender? It doesn't mean giving up on our dreams, goals, or aspirations. It means acknowledging that we can do our best, but the outcome isn't always in our hands. Surrender is not about passivity or abandoning our ambitions. It's about trusting that the universe, life, or whatever you choose to believe in, has a plan for us. It's about releasing the burden of needing to control every detail, and instead, allowing life to unfold naturally, knowing that the path we are on is exactly where we need to be. In this release, we find peace not in the absence of struggle, but in our ability to face it without fear. When you stop trying to control every outcome, you open yourself up to the beauty and wisdom that life has to offer. You stop running away from the unknown, and instead, you walk forward with courage, knowing that the unknown holds within it endless possibilities. Surrender isn't a one-time decision, it's a practice. Every day, we are presented with opportunities to release the need for control and to trust in the process of life. It's not about giving up or being passive. It's about actively choosing to let go, to trust, and to embrace the unfolding journey. And with each act of surrender, we find ourselves more aligned with the flow of life, more at peace with the present, and more free from the fear of what might come. So, the next time you find yourself grasping for control, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what would it feel like to let go? In that moment of release, you might just discover the freedom you've been searching for all along, Because when you surrender, you are no longer fighting life, you are living it. And in that space of trust, you'll find that everything in its own time is already working in your favor. Living in the present, the secret to peace. In the rush of life, we often find ourselves caught between two worlds, the past and the future. We replay old memories, regrets, and mistakes, trapped in the cycle of what could have been. Or we anxiously anticipate what lies ahead, wondering what will happen, fearing the unknown, and chasing an ideal future that always seems just out of reach. But in this frantic push and pull, we lose the most precious thing we have, the present moment. The present is all we truly own. It is the only moment that is real, the only time in which we can take action, feel, and experience. Yet, how often do we let it slip through our fingers unnoticed, distracted by the weight of the past or the uncertainty of the future? We convince ourselves that happiness lies somewhere down the road, that peace will only come when we reach a certain milestone or achieve a particular goal. But the truth is, peace doesn't reside in a far-off destination. It resides in the here and now. Buddhism teaches us that the present moment is the only reality, the only time in which we can truly experience life. The past is gone. It has already shaped us, but it cannot be changed. The future, though full of possibilities, has yet to arrive, and worrying about it only robs us of the peace that is available in this moment. By constantly focusing on what was or what will be, we miss the beauty and serenity of what is right in front of us. Imagine for a moment standing in the middle of a busy street, your mind swirling with thoughts of yesterday's mistakes and tomorrow's worries. You can feel the stress building, the pressure mounting as you try to navigate through the chaos. But then in a single moment you stop. You take a deep breath. You let go of the need to control, the need to rush, and you simply notice. The sunlight filtering through the trees, the sound of distant laughter, the texture of the earth beneath your feet. Suddenly, the world becomes clearer, softer, and you realize that peace has always been here in this very moment. This is the power of mindfulness, of living fully in the present. When we stop letting our thoughts drag us into the past or push us into the future, we become fully aware of the richness of each moment. We begin to appreciate the simple things that we often overlook, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the taste of food, the sound of our breath. These moments are fleeting, but when we pay attention, they become deeply meaningful. Living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the past or neglecting the future. It means understanding that the past has shaped us, but it no longer holds power over us. We carry its lessons, but we are not bound by its mistakes. It means understanding that the future will come, but it's not something to fear or obsess over. We prepare for it, but we don't live in it. We live now. The only moment that truly exists is the one you are in right now. This shift in perspective brings incredible peace. It's a peace that comes from knowing you are not your past mistakes, nor are you the anxieties of your future. You are simply here in this moment, experiencing life as it is. The worries that once seemed so overwhelming begin to fade, replaced by a sense of calm and clarity. You begin to see that the things you feared were never as big or as powerful as they seemed. When you live in the present, fear loses its grip on you. But how do we begin to live in the present? It starts with awareness. The first step is to notice when your mind starts to wander into the past or future. Every time you catch yourself, gently bring your focus back to the present moment. Start by focusing on your breath, the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. Feel your feet on the ground, the weight of your body, the temperature of the air. These simple actions anchor you in the here and now. Mindfulness practices, such as meditation or simply taking a few moments each day to pause and check in with yourself, can help you cultivate this awareness. It's about becoming the observer of your own mind, noticing your thoughts without judgment. You begin to realize that your thoughts are not you. They are just fleeting experiences. The more you practice mindfulness, the more natural it becomes to stay present, to be fully engaged in whatever you are doing. Whether it's drinking a cup of coffee, listening to a friend, or walking through the park, Living in the present also requires letting go of the constant pressure to achieve, to reach a goal, to check something off your list. The modern world conditions us to think that we must always be moving forward, always working towards something else. But this constant striving only brings more stress and less satisfaction. True peace comes when we release the need to constantly do, and instead focus on simply being. When we give ourselves permission to pause, to breathe, to just be, we open ourselves to the profound joy of life as it is. One of the most powerful aspects of living in the present is that it gives us the ability to embrace what's right in front of us. When we stop chasing after what's next, we begin to notice the beauty of the journey itself. We realize that life doesn't happen at some distant point in the future. It happens right here in this moment. The more we live in the present, the more we begin to understand that the future will take care of itself. It's not something we need to control, only something we need to move toward with awareness, trust, and openness. When you begin to live in the present, you free yourself from the burden of regret and the fear of the unknown. You become more resilient, more adaptable, and more at peace with whatever life brings. Instead of wishing for things to be different, you start appreciating what is. You begin to see that every moment, even the difficult ones, holds value, and that peace is not something we must chase. It's something we can cultivate right where we are. So, take a moment. Right now, wherever you are, pause and breathe. Feel the present moment. You don't need to rush forward or look back. Just be here. Because when you live in the present, you realize that everything you need to find peace, to find joy, is already here. In the simplicity of now, you find all the richness life has to offer. And in that stillness, you begin to understand that life has always been working in your favor. Cultivating gratitude, seeing the abundance around you. We live in a world that often tells us that we are not enough. The advertisements, the social media posts, the endless messages we receive about what we should have, what we should be, and where we should go. These voices of scarcity seep into our minds, shaping the way we view our lives. It's easy to get caught in this mindset, to look at what we don't have, and feel like something is always missing. But what if I told you that everything you need, everything you desire, and everything you've been searching for already exists around you? What if the key to unlocking peace, joy, and abundance is not in what we're striving for, but in what we already have? Gratitude is the lens through which we can see the world in a completely new way. It's a practice, a choice, and a way of being. Instead of focusing on what's missing, gratitude teaches us to turn our attention to what is already present. And when we do this, we begin to notice that the abundance we seek has been right in front of us all along. The simple things, our health, the warmth of the sun, the kindness of a stranger, the love of a friend. These are the gifts that make life rich, and they are often overlooked because we are too busy chasing after something else. In Buddhism, gratitude is not just about saying thank you for the good things in our lives. It's about recognizing the inherent value in every moment, in every experience. The Buddha taught that everything is impermanent. Nothing stays the same, and yet within that fleeting nature lies the beauty of life. When we embrace gratitude, we begin to see the preciousness of each moment, each interaction, each challenge, and each blessing. The act of being thankful transforms the way we experience the world. It turns ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. Take a moment to think about your day. When was the last time you truly felt grateful for something simple? Was it the quiet moment of peace you had in the morning? Was it the smile from a stranger or the laughter shared with a friend? We tend to overlook these things, thinking that happiness will come when we achieve more or get more. But in truth, happiness is already here, it's just waiting for us to notice it. When we practice gratitude, we shift our focus from scarcity to abundance. We stop asking, "What's missing?" and start asking, "What's here?" This small shift in perspective has the power to transform our experience of life. When we're focused on what we don't have, we feel empty, incomplete. But when we focus on what we do have, we begin to feel full, connected, and abundant. We realize that we have enough. The love we share, the health we carry, the opportunities we have, These are the things that make life beautiful, and they are often the most overlooked. Gratitude also opens our hearts to the people around us. When we are thankful for the people in our lives, we begin to see them not as mere characters in our story, but as gifts in our journey. Every relationship, whether it's with family, friends, or even strangers, is a part of the tapestry of our lives. Each person brings something unique to the table, and when we practice gratitude, we begin to appreciate them in a deeper way. Think about a time when you felt truly appreciated. Maybe someone sent you a message of thanks or gave you a simple compliment. How did that make you feel? Now, imagine how the people in your life would feel if you were to express your gratitude more often. It doesn't have to be grand gestures or elaborate gifts. Sometimes, the smallest act of appreciation can make the biggest difference. A heartfelt thank you, a smile, a listening ear. These are all acts of gratitude that have the power to transform our relationships and deepen our connections. Gratitude also has the power to heal. We all go through difficult times, loss, disappointment, failure. In those moments, it's easy to become consumed by the pain, to focus only on what we've lost or what we wish could have been. But when we approach hardship with gratitude, we begin to see the lesson in the pain. We recognize that even in the darkest moments, there are gifts to be found. Perhaps it's a newfound strength, an important lesson, or a deeper connection to others. Whatever it is, the act of being grateful for what we've learned, what we've gained, and what we've survived brings healing to our hearts. Gratitude doesn't deny pain, it acknowledges it. It doesn't ignore the struggles we face, but it teaches us to see beyond them. It invites us to look at the bigger picture, to recognize that our struggles are not here to define us, but to shape us. Every difficulty carries with it a lesson, and gratitude helps us uncover it. It's through gratitude that we learn to find meaning in our suffering, and through that meaning we find peace. But how do we cultivate gratitude? It starts with awareness. Every day, take a moment to pause and reflect on what you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out process, just a simple acknowledgement of the blessings that surround you. You might find that the more you practice, the more you have to be thankful for. Gratitude is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Another powerful way to cultivate gratitude is by sharing it with others. Expressing your appreciation for the people in your life, the experiences you've had, and the things you've learned not only deepens your own sense of gratitude, but it spreads positivity to those around you. When you thank someone for their kindness, their help, or their love, you not only lift them up, but you also elevate yourself. Gratitude has a ripple effect. It spreads from one person to another, creating a chain of positivity and connection. Gratitude is also about letting go of comparison. In a world that constantly encourages us to compare ourselves to others, to measure our worth by what we have or what we achieve, it's easy to feel inadequate. But when we practice gratitude, we stop comparing and start appreciating. We realize that our journey is unique and that the things we have, whether big or small, are enough. We are enough. And when we come from a place of gratitude, we don't need more to feel fulfilled. We simply need to recognize the abundance that's already here. So, take a deep breath and look around you. Notice the simple, beautiful things in your life. Notice the people, the moments, and the gifts that make each day meaningful. Take a moment to express your gratitude and watch how your perspective shifts. You'll begin to see the world through a new lens, a lens of abundance, connection, and peace. Gratitude is not just a practice. It's a way of living, a way of being, and when you embrace it, you will discover that everything, every moment, and every experience is already working in your favor. The strength of faith, walking forward with trust. There are moments in life when everything seems uncertain, when the path ahead is obscured by a thick fog of doubt. You've done everything you can, put in the effort, made the sacrifices, yet the outcome is still unclear. The future feels like an uncharted territory, and fear begins to creep in, whispering all the worst possible scenarios. It's in these moments of vulnerability, when our grip on control loosens and the fear of the unknown becomes overwhelming, that faith becomes not just a guiding force, but the only thing that can carry us forward. Faith is not always about believing in a higher power or an external force. It's about trusting the process of life itself. It's about knowing deep within that, even when we can't see the next step, we are not lost. There's something profoundly reassuring in the belief that no matter how many twists, turns, or detours life throws our way, we are still on the right path. Life, in all its complexity, has a way of guiding us when we trust it, even when we can't make sense of it all in the moment. Think about the moments in your life when you felt completely uncertain, unsure of what was coming next. Maybe it was the loss of a job, the end of a relationship, or the disruption of a dream. In those moments, you may have wondered if everything was falling apart, if things would ever align the way you had hoped. But looking back now, with the clarity of time, you might realize that those moments of uncertainty were pivotal. They were the very experiences that shaped you, refined you, and led you to a place of growth you would never have reached without them. Faith is the quiet knowing that, even in the midst of chaos, things are unfolding as they should. But faith is not something that comes naturally for everyone. In a world obsessed with instant gratification and certainty, faith often feels like a rare and fragile thing. We live in a culture that tells us we must always have answers, always be prepared, always be in control. The idea of stepping into the unknown, trusting that everything will work out, feels counterintuitive. And yet, it is in this surrender, this willingness to walk forward without all the answers, that life reveals its deepest lessons. Faith is not about having a blueprint for the future or knowing exactly how everything will play out. It's about trusting that whatever happens, you will be okay. It's the courage to move forward without knowing what the end will look like, yet trusting that each step you take is leading you somewhere meaningful. Faith teaches us to embrace uncertainty, to walk with open eyes, knowing that the path, though hidden, will eventually reveal itself. Consider the example of a traveler embarking on a journey through an unfamiliar land. The path is unknown, the terrain is unpredictable, and the destination is shrouded in mystery. But the traveler doesn't stop walking because of the unknown. They walk with the belief that every step is part of the journey, even if the end is not yet visible. With every footstep, the path becomes clearer. The traveler trusts the journey itself, not because they know exactly where they are going, but because they trust that they are exactly where they need to be. This is the essence of faith, walking forward, even when you can't see the destination. It's the trust that each moment, no matter how difficult or uncertain, is shaping you into the person you are meant to become. Life, with all its twists and turns, is not random or meaningless. It has a rhythm, a flow, and when we trust it, we begin to see that even the hardest moments have a purpose. Faith doesn't eliminate the challenges, nor does it promise a life free from pain or hardship, but it provides us with the strength to face those challenges with resilience. It reminds us that pain is temporary, that failure is not the end, and that the struggles we endure today are building the foundation for something greater tomorrow. When we walk with faith, we walk with confidence, knowing that every obstacle is a lesson, every disappointment a redirection, and every failure a stepping stone. Living with faith also means letting go of the need to control every aspect of life. We've all tried at some point to micromanage our lives, to force outcomes, to make things happen on our terms. But we know all too well that life doesn't always follow our plans. And when we try to control it, we only add stress and frustration to our journey. Faith teaches us to release the need for certainty, to accept that we don't always have to know what's next. It allows us to trust that the universe or life, or whatever you choose to believe in, has a plan for us, even when that plan is different from what we envisioned. This trust in life's process isn't passive, it's active. It requires us to continue moving forward with purpose, to keep walking even when the path is unclear, to keep believing that every step is leading us somewhere meaningful. It's about having the courage to keep going, even when you can't see what's ahead. The belief that whatever happens will serve you in some way, even if you don't understand it in the moment. Faith is the foundation of resilience. It is the reason we get back up when we fall, the reason we keep going when the road gets rough. Without faith, we would be paralyzed by doubt, overwhelmed by fear, and stuck in a cycle of waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect outcome. But with faith, we find the strength to keep moving forward, to trust in the unfolding process of life, and to believe that we are being guided every step of the way. So, the next time you find yourself in a moment of uncertainty, when you're standing at the edge of the unknown and fear begins to take over, remember this. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to know exactly what will happen next. What you need is faith. Faith that even in the uncertainty, you are exactly where you need to be. Faith that, even when the road seems dark, there is light ahead. Faith that everything is working in your favor, even when you can't see how. And with that faith, you'll walk forward with trust, knowing that life will always carry you where you need to go. Equanimity, mastering the art of balance. There are moments in life when everything seems to be in turmoil, when the world around us feels unpredictable, chaotic, and beyond our control. It's in these moments of uncertainty, when emotions run high and decisions feel more difficult, that we are tested. How we respond to these moments will determine the course of our journey. The question is not whether we will face storms, it's how we will navigate them. The answer lies in a quality that is essential to our peace and well-being: equanimity. Equanimity is the ability to remain balanced, steady, and calm no matter what life throws our way. It's not about being indifferent to life's ups and downs. Rather, it's about cultivating a deep inner peace that remains unshaken, no matter the external circumstances. In a world that constantly shifts and changes, equanimity becomes our anchor. It is the calm in the storm, the stillness amidst the chaos. Think about a tree standing tall in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain pours down, and the branches sway violently. Yet, despite the force of the storm, the tree remains rooted in the ground. It bends, it sways, but it does not break. This is what equanimity offers us, a sense of rootedness and inner strength that allows us to bend with life's challenges without losing ourselves. The storm may rage around us, but we remain steady. Equanimity is the art of not being tossed around by the emotional extremes of life. Too often we find ourselves swayed by every high and low, clinging to joy as if it's permanent, and sinking into despair when things don't go our way. When we get attached to success, we fear failure. When we get attached to pleasure, we fear loss. But equanimity teaches us that life is a balance of both joy and sorrow, success and failure, gain and loss. The key is not to cling to one while resisting the other. Instead, we learn to accept both with an open heart, knowing that neither is permanent. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. Equanimity isn't about shutting off our emotions or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about experiencing life fully, feeling the joy, the pain, the excitement, and the disappointment, without being consumed by it. It's about allowing ourselves to feel deeply while maintaining a sense of perspective and balance. When we practice equanimity, we don't let our emotions control us. We allow them to flow through us without becoming overwhelmed by them. Consider a moment in your life when everything seemed to fall apart. Maybe you lost a job, a relationship ended, or a dream you worked so hard for slipped through your fingers. In those moments, it's easy to be swept away by fear, frustration, or anger. But what if, instead of letting those emotions take over, you had paused, centered yourself, and accepted the situation as it was? What if you had trusted that this moment, though painful, was not the end, but rather a part of your journey? This is where equanimity becomes transformative. It allows us to face difficulties with clarity instead of being clouded by emotional reactions. It helps us understand that pain is a part of life, but it does not define us. When we encounter hardship, equanimity allows us to feel the pain without getting lost in it. We can experience loss, but we don't have to let it consume us. We can feel sadness, but we don't have to let it define our entire experience. Equanimity is the strength to hold our emotional responses with compassion and wisdom, without allowing them to dictate our actions or our sense of self. Equanimity is not about avoiding challenges or pretending that pain doesn't exist. It's about recognizing that every experience, whether good or bad, is a part of the greater whole of life. We learn to see that life's fluctuations, the joys, the sorrows, the successes, the failures, are all temporary. The highs won't last forever, and neither will the lows. Everything is in constant motion, and our ability to navigate this movement with grace and steadiness is what gives us peace. When we cultivate equanimity, we stop seeking to control everything. We stop trying to force things to go our way, and instead, we trust in the natural ebb and flow of life. This trust doesn't mean we stop making efforts. It means we make efforts without attachment to the outcome. We do our best, but we don't hold on so tightly that we end up suffocating our own peace. We stop fighting life and start embracing it. We become like the mountain, unshaken by the wind, unmoved by the storms. One of the greatest gifts of equanimity is its ability to help us respond to others with compassion instead of judgment. When we are balanced within ourselves, we are less likely to react impulsively to the actions or words of others. Instead of meeting negativity with more negativity, we respond with understanding. We recognize that others, just like us, are facing their own storms. Equanimity allows us to listen without judgment, to love without expectation, and to offer kindness without condition. It frees us from the emotional roller coaster of reacting to external circumstances and helps us stay centered in our own truth. But how do we cultivate equanimity in a world that constantly demands our attention, our reaction, and our involvement? It begins with mindfulness, the practice of being present with our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Mindfulness helps us observe our emotions without being controlled by them. It teaches us to step back from our immediate reactions and create a space in which we can choose how we respond. This space is where equanimity is born. In this space, we are no longer at the mercy of our emotions or the world around us. We are free to choose our response with wisdom and calm. Equanimity also requires us to embrace impermanence, the understanding that everything in life is constantly changing. This realization frees us from the attachment to outcomes and the fear of loss. When we accept that nothing lasts forever, we are able to enjoy the good moments without clinging to them, and we can face the difficult moments without fearing that they will define us. We begin to see that both joy and sorrow are part of the same journey, and both have something valuable to teach us. So, how do we become the calm in the storm? It starts with small moments of practice, pausing before reacting, breathing through the discomfort, observing our thoughts without judgment, and choosing peace over chaos. It's a daily practice of returning to balance, even when life feels unbalanced. The more we practice, the more natural it becomes to remain steady, even in the midst of the most turbulent times. When we live with equanimity, we stop being victims of our circumstances. We stop being tossed around by the highs and lows of life. Instead, we become the steady presence in the storm. We remain grounded, no matter what comes our way. This groundedness gives us the strength to face anything, because we know that no matter how fierce the storm, we have the ability to remain calm. Equanimity doesn't remove life's challenges, but it gives us the inner strength to navigate them with grace, wisdom, and peace. And when we embrace equanimity, we realize that life, in all its beautiful chaos, is already working in our favor. The power of patience, trusting life's timing. There's an ancient wisdom in waiting, a quiet strength that comes from trusting in the unfolding of life, even when it feels like everything is moving too slowly. In our modern world, where everything is expected to happen instantly, patience is often seen as a weakness, a passive acceptance of what we can't control. But what if I told you that patience is actually one of the most powerful tools we can have in navigating the complexities of life? What if, instead of rushing through life, We allowed ourselves to trust that everything will come at the right time. We live in an age of immediacy. In a world where instant gratification is just a click away, waiting feels almost counterintuitive. We want answers now. We want results now. We want success, love, happiness, all of it right now. But in this constant rush to achieve, we often miss the beauty of the journey. We forget that growth, healing, and true transformation are not things that can be rushed. They take time. They require patience. Patience is also about trusting ourselves. We often become impatient with ourselves when things don't happen as quickly as we would like. We judge ourselves for not achieving more, for not moving faster, for not being further along. But patience teaches us that we are enough, just as we are. It teaches us to trust our own timing, to trust that we are growing even when it feels slow, and that we are exactly where we need to be. The process of becoming who we are meant to be is a lifelong journey, and every step, no matter how small, is part of that evolution. Patience also requires surrender. It means releasing our tight grip on the outcome and trusting that what is meant for us will come in its own time. There is a deep peace in surrendering the need to control the future and simply allowing things to unfold. When we let go of our attachments to specific outcomes, we open ourselves to new possibilities, new opportunities that we may not have seen before. We allow life to surprise us, to lead us in ways we hadn't planned or expected. This surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to the flow of life, trusting that, no matter what, it's always working in our favor. Consider the times in your life when you felt the most frustrated, the most impatient. Maybe it was the moment you were waiting for a job offer, or the time you were waiting for a relationship to evolve, or perhaps the times when you've been waiting for a dream to come true. In these moments, the waiting can feel unbearable, as though nothing is happening, as though you're stuck. But think about what happened when you finally let go of that impatience. Did things unfold in a way you hadn't expected? Did something better come along, even though it wasn't what you had originally hoped for? More often than not, the greatest gifts come not when we are rushing toward them, but when we allow them to come in their own time. This doesn't mean that patience is easy. It's not. We are human, and our natural inclination is to want things now. We want results, we want answers, and we want them yesterday. But when we practice patience, we begin to shift from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. We begin to understand that waiting is not a punishment. It's a preparation. Just as the seed needs time to grow strong roots before it can sprout, we need time to prepare ourselves for the blessings that are coming our way. Patience is not passive. It's an active trust in the process of life, knowing that everything we are waiting for is already on its way. Patience also teaches us resilience. In moments of waiting, we often find our greatest strength. We learn how to endure, how to keep going even when the path is unclear. Patience reminds us that life doesn't always move in a straight line, but it does move, and it moves in its own time. It teaches us to be present, to appreciate the journey, and to trust that we will arrive exactly where we need to be, when we need to be there. So the next time you find yourself feeling frustrated with the pace of life, take a step back and breathe. Trust that the timing of your journey is perfect, even when it doesn't align with your expectations. Surrender the need to rush and allow life to unfold at its own pace. Embrace patience, knowing that every moment, every delay, and every challenge is part of the greater plan. And in that patience, you will discover that everything in its own time is already working in your favor. Letting go of attachment, embracing the freedom of release. In our pursuit of happiness, success, and fulfillment, there is one subtle yet powerful force that quietly holds us back: attachment. We all carry attachments, sometimes without even realizing it. We become attached to people, outcomes, dreams, possessions, and even our identities. We convince ourselves that these things define who we are, and that without them, we will lose a part of ourselves. But what if the very things we are clinging to, these attachments, are the ones that are holding us prisoner? What if true freedom lies in the ability to let go? Attachment is a natural part of being human. We form bonds with others, we create plans for our future, and we accumulate things that bring us comfort and security. But when these attachments begin to define us, to become the source of our identity, we create a fragile sense of self. What happens when the things we are attached to are taken away? What happens when we lose the things, people, or ideas we hold dear? The loss can be overwhelming, and in that moment, we feel as though we are losing ourselves. We feel as though we are being torn apart by the very things we once thought we needed to feel complete. But the truth is, attachment does not bring lasting happiness. It only creates a sense of dependence on external circumstances. We become trapped in a cycle of desire and fear. We desire more possessions, more recognition, more control. And when we don't get what we want, we fear losing what we have. This constant cycle of attachment and fear leaves us feeling unfulfilled and restless, chasing something that always seems just out of reach. Imagine a person who clings to a beautiful flower, believing that holding onto it will preserve its beauty forever. They tighten their grip, refusing to let it go. Yet, as time passes, the flower begins to wither. No matter how tightly they hold it, the flower cannot escape the natural course of life. The tighter they grip, the faster it decays. This is what attachment does to us. It doesn't preserve life, it diminishes it. When we cling to something, we limit its natural growth and the natural flow of life. We prevent ourselves from experiencing the freedom that comes with letting go. Letting go of attachment is not about abandoning what we love or giving up on our dreams. It is about releasing the need to control the outcome, releasing the belief that our happiness depends on external factors. When we let go of attachment, we free ourselves from the constant pursuit of something outside of us to complete us. We begin to realize that we are whole, just as we are. Our worth is not defined by the things we possess or the approval of others. It is defined by the essence of who we are. This doesn't mean we stop caring. On the contrary, letting go allows us to care more deeply because we no longer hold on to expectations or demands. We begin to appreciate people, experiences, and possessions for what they are, not for what we expect them to be. We can love without attachment, meaning we can love without trying to control, without needing things to go a certain way, without fearing that our love will be lost. In this love, there is freedom, freedom to give without expecting, freedom to receive without clinging. Letting go of attachment also means letting go of the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. We become attached to our identities, our roles, our successes, our failures, our past. We convince ourselves that we are defined by our achievements or our mistakes. But when we release these attachments, we discover the truth. We are not our roles, our successes, or our failures. We are not bound by our past. We are something far greater, a soul in constant evolution, a being experiencing life in its fullest form. When we let go of our attachment to identity, we open ourselves to new possibilities, to new ways of being, to a deeper understanding of who we truly are. The beauty of letting go is that it invites new things into our lives. Just as a tree sheds its leaves to make way for new growth, we too must shed our attachments to make room for the new. When we release what no longer serves us, whether it's an old belief, a toxic relationship, or an unfulfilled dream, we make space for new experiences, new opportunities, and new ways of thinking. This release is not a loss. It is an invitation to growth, to transformation, and to freedom. Letting go of attachment also means letting go of the need for perfection. We often become attached to the idea of perfection, the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect life. But perfection is an illusion. Life is messy, unpredictable, and full of imperfections. And it is in these imperfections that the richness of life resides. When we release our attachment to perfection, we open ourselves to the beauty of the imperfect. We begin to see the value in every experience, every challenge, every mistake. These are the moments that shape us, that teach us, that help us grow. This doesn't mean we stop striving for our goals or stop working towards our dreams. On the contrary, we continue to move forward but without the heavy burden of attachment to the outcome. We let go of the need to control how things unfold. We do our best, we put in the effort, and then we release the need to make things turn out exactly as we want. When we let go of attachment, we stop tying our happiness to specific outcomes. Instead, we find joy in the process, in the journey itself. Letting go of attachment is not always easy. It requires courage, vulnerability, and trust. It requires us to step into the unknown, to face the fear of losing what we hold dear, and to embrace the uncertainty of life. But in doing so, we discover the true meaning of freedom. We are no longer slaves to our desires, to our fears, or to our expectations. We are free to live fully, to love deeply, and to experience life as it is, without the constant need for control. So, take a moment to reflect on what you are attached to. What are you holding onto so tightly that it is preventing you from experiencing the fullness of life? What can you let go of in order to make room for something new, something more meaningful? In the act of letting go, you will discover a freedom that you never knew existed, a freedom to live, to love, and to be fully present in the beautiful, imperfect journey of life. Because when we let go, we realize that we are not losing anything, we are gaining everything. Walking in harmony with life, the final step towards awakening. There comes a time in every life when we realize that we are no longer simply going through the motions. We begin to feel the weight of the past, the uncertainty of the future, and the endless cycle of striving and struggling. But in the midst of this, there's a deeper calling, a whisper that tells us there's another way to live. It's the realization that we don't have to fight against life, but that we can walk in harmony with it. This harmony is not a distant dream or an unattainable goal. It is the essence of awakening, the recognition that we are part of something much greater than ourselves. To walk in harmony with life is to finally surrender to the flow of existence, to accept that life, in all its complexity, is already working in our favor. Living in harmony with life doesn't mean that everything will be perfect or free of hardship. It means that despite the challenges, we choose to embrace life as it comes. Joy, pain, success, and failure, all of it. We begin to understand that life is not something we must control or master. It is something we must align with, flow with, and honor in all its facets. This deep, fundamental acceptance is what leads us to true peace, to an inner calm that remains steady even in the most turbulent of times. Think about the way a river flows through the landscape. It encounters rocks, branches, and obstacles along the way, but it doesn't stop or resist. It flows around the obstacles, carving new paths, always moving forward, never stuck. The river knows that everything has its place in the flow of life, and so must we. When we fight against life, when we resist what is happening, we only create more tension and struggle. But when we surrender, when we trust in the process, we allow life to guide us to where we are meant to go. Walking in harmony with life is not about eliminating difficulty. It's about accepting that difficulty is an inevitable part of the human experience. It's about learning how to respond with grace, understanding, and trust, knowing that each challenge holds a lesson, and each hardship offers an opportunity for growth. In this acceptance, we stop seeing obstacles as enemies and start seeing them as teachers, guides that lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. When we walk in harmony with life, we stop rushing. We stop trying to force things into being. We stop clinging to outcomes and start appreciating the journey itself. We become present, fully aware of each moment, each breath, and each experience. We begin to see the beauty in the smallest of things, the way the sunlight filters through the leaves, the sound of birds singing in the morning, the touch of a loved one's hand. These are the moments that make life rich, and they are often overlooked when we are caught up in the pursuit of something else. Walking in harmony means slowing down enough to notice the beauty that surrounds us, to savor the present moment, and to truly live in it. This is where the magic of life happens, not in the future, not in the past, but in the present moment. So many of us spend our lives chasing after something, thinking that happiness, peace, or success lies just ahead. But when we stop chasing, we begin to realize that it was never about reaching some distant destination. It was about how we lived each step of the way. It was about how we chose to be present with ourselves, with others, and with the world around us. To walk in harmony with life is to trust that everything is unfolding as it should. It is to recognize that we don't need to force things into place, that we don't need to control every outcome or every event. Life is not a problem to be solved. It is a journey to be experienced. And when we embrace it fully, we realize that every moment, no matter how difficult, is a part of the larger picture. Every challenge is a brushstroke in the painting of our lives. When we learn to walk in harmony with life, we stop resisting the natural flow of events, and we start moving with it, allowing it to carry us toward greater peace and fulfillment. This practice of harmony requires deep trust. Trust in life, trust in the process, and trust in ourselves. It requires us to believe that, no matter what happens, we are always being guided toward what we need, even when we can't see the full picture. Trust is the foundation of inner peace, the belief that everything, even the hard moments, is working in our favor. We may not understand everything right now, but walking in harmony means believing that life is leading us in the right direction, even when we cannot see the road ahead. In this trust, there is a deep freedom. Freedom from the need to control, freedom from the anxiety of the unknown, and freedom from the belief that we have to do it all ourselves. When we walk in harmony with life, we are no longer driven by fear or urgency. We walk with a sense of ease, of contentment, and of knowing that whatever is meant for us will find its way to us. We stop forcing things into place, and instead we allow them to unfold naturally. To walk in harmony with life is to live with an open heart. It means being receptive to the flow of experiences, whether they are joyful or painful, knowing that each one has a purpose. It means surrendering to the beauty and the messiness of life, without judgment or expectation. We stop trying to control everything, and instead we trust that life will bring us exactly what we need at the right time. And in that trust we find peace. So, how do we begin to walk in harmony with life? It starts with letting go. Letting go of the need to control, the need to be right, the need to have everything figured out. It means stepping into the unknown with courage, knowing that each step is part of the journey. It means being present with life, fully engaged in the here and now, and trusting that the unfolding path is exactly what we need to experience. When we walk in harmony with life, we become one with the flow of existence. We stop fighting against it, and instead we allow it to carry us, knowing that every moment is a step toward the fullness of who we are meant to be. In this alignment, we find peace, joy, and fulfillment, not because life is perfect, but because we are finally living in harmony with it. Everything, in its own time, is already working in our favor, and when we embrace this truth, we find the freedom to truly live. Embracing life's flow. In this journey of life, we often find ourselves wrestling with forces beyond our control, facing obstacles, experiencing loss, and navigating through uncertainty. Yet, throughout this narrative, a deeper truth has emerged. Life is not something we must struggle against, but something we must learn to embrace with trust, patience, and faith. The power to navigate our challenges lies not in our ability to control every moment, but in our willingness to surrender to the process, to trust in the unfolding of our unique journey, and to live with equanimity. We've learned that trust is the foundation of peace. When we let go of our need to control every detail of our lives and trust in the timing of life itself, we begin to understand that every experience, no matter how difficult or painful, is part of a greater plan that we may not yet fully comprehend. Each setback, each delay, each hardship is guiding us towards something greater. Our growth is often shaped by the challenges we face, and through those challenges, we uncover strengths and wisdom that would not have emerged otherwise. Equanimity has taught us the importance of balance. Life will always be full of ups and downs, but it is how we respond to them that truly matters. When we cultivate a sense of calm amidst the chaos, when we learn to stay grounded and present in each moment, we discover a deep, abiding peace. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by life's unpredictability, we learn to flow with it, accepting that uncertainty is part of the process and trusting that the journey is just as important as the destination. Patience has revealed its transformative power. In a world that values speed and instant results, we often forget that true growth takes time. Patience allows us to trust in the process, to embrace the unfolding of life without rushing toward an outcome. When we learn to wait with grace, to act without attachment to the result, we find that life's greatest gifts often come in their own time, not on our schedule. And finally, letting go of attachment has shown us the freedom of release. By relinquishing our tight grip on people, possessions, and outcomes, we free ourselves from the fear of loss and the anxiety of control. When we stop defining our worth by what we have or what we achieve, we begin to experience life in its full richness. We discover that we are not defined by external circumstances, but by the essence of who we are within. The deepest lesson from this journey is that life, in all its beauty and complexity, is always working in our favor. We may not always understand why things happen as they do, but through trust, patience, equanimity, and the release of attachment, we can navigate the challenges of life with grace and confidence. Life is not something to be controlled. It is something to be experienced, embraced, and trusted. As you reflect on the lessons from this story, I invite you to consider: what attachments are you holding onto that may be preventing you from experiencing the full freedom and peace that life has to offer? How can you begin to trust the process of life, knowing that everything, even the difficult moments, is guiding you toward greater wisdom and growth? I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you apply the lessons of trust, patience, and letting go in your own life? Please share your perspective in the comments below. Your insight could be just the guidance someone else needs. And if this content resonates with you, consider subscribing to Buddhism in every moment. Your support helps us continue to create meaningful content that can inspire and empower others on their journey. Thank you for being part of this community, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the future.